What's going on, everybody? This is the final episode of the Super Duty axle swap on my 1988 Ford Bronco. So, in this episode, we are going to be getting both drive shafts made and installed, all the brakes hooked up in the rear, and we are going to be getting the shocks installed and just cruising it around and enjoying this solid axle swap. With that being said, we need to gather parts, we need to get lengths, so this is going to be spread out across multiple different weekends, so bear with me. There might be some weird cut splices, there might be some voiceovers, but there will be all the information you need to finish up your axle swap. Let's dive into what we're going to take care of tonight, which is the rear end. We're going to get the brakes on, we're going to get the drive shaft in, and we're going to get the pitman angle set up. So, let's go over parts. To finish up the rear end, we're going to start with the brakes. We'll start with hard lines. I ordered these off of the website here. These are just kind of like a factory replacement hard line that goes across the axle. I got a extended brake line for the frame down to the axle. This came from Rough Country and it should work just fine. And I got these custom made brake lines from my local hydraulic shop to hook up the hard line to the brake calipers. This brake caliper I rebuilt myself for about 20 bucks. This brake caliper I just purchased from O'Reilly for 80 bucks. Got a custom drive shaft made, which we'll go over in a little bit, and I also got a rear diff gasket. Let's kind of go over where we're at and what we've done so far to get the drive shaft situation taken care of and what we need to do forward. So if you see, we completely ripped out the old transmission crossmember and made this custom one. And this custom one drops about 2 inches down to give us more clearance for the front drive line. Because as you see, our flange is right here, and then we go to the yoke right here. This is a super clean setup. I really love the way he did it. Dylan killed it on this. It looks great. If you want him to build you one, hit him up on Instagram and he will build it and ship it out to you. So our plan for the weekend is we can still set the U-joint into the yoke a little bit. And we're going to clamp it down and we're going to get our pinion angle set into stone so we can weld these spring perches onto the axle. And then after that's done, we're going to paint this axle all nice and pretty like. And then I'm going to set up all the brakes. I'm going to get the calipers on the rotors, all the brake lines. I'm not doing parking brakes. I'm not diving into that right now. But yeah, I'm going to get all the brake lines done on the rear, get the brakes bled, have this thing have full brakes, and then all we have to do is wait on drive shafts, and we can drive the thing again. Once my buddy Dylan gets here, we will touch base on how to do pinion angle, because I have no idea, and we're going to learn together, all right?
It's only a 1/4 inch off, dude. We're going to do all this work just scoop it a 1/4 inch.
Well, Dilly showed up, and we got right to it. We got to center the axle on the truck, and it's a 1/4 inch off according to Dilly, so we got to move it just a 1/4 inch, unfortunately.
Well, it's a 1/2 inch off, but if you move it a 1/4 inch, then it'll be even.
Oh, okay, yeah. Fair enough. All right, should we just get the sledge and...
Especially because you're not running a tractor.
Right.
But when your springs wrap going forward, your tire is moving this way and your pinion wants to go up. When the springs wrap, it moves the spring.
Yeah.
So your pinion wants to angle up. So when you're running a CV style shaft, you want, in a perfect world, you want your pinion pointed. You want your the line on your pinion to be in like an exact straight line with your drive line.
Yeah. Like from diff to drive line, right?
Yeah. So like, you see how I have both angle finders on there?
Yep.
You want both those numbers to be the same, but you're not running a traction bar, so you have to account for a little bit of spring wrap.
Oh, okay.
So they're, instead of being perfectly straight, like I set mine, because I'm running a
You're running a big old track bar.
I accounted for a little bit of spring wrap, and I set them 1 degree different.
Okay. Oh, I see.
Yeah.
So it allows for that slop.
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah.
Nice. Simple enough. Just need the 2 angle finders.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Now we just got to weld in the perches.
Yep.
And tighten up the U-bolts and get her painted.
I'll double check, make sure it's still centered, but it doesn't look like it moved, so it should be good.
Yeah. Alrighty. Alrighty, Dilly got the spring perches welded in. So now I'm going to run this axle over with a wire wheel, get everything all nice and cleaned off, get some paint on her, and then we'll touch base on the brakes after that. Alrighty, so got everything all painted up. Looks really, really good. Could probably use a second coat of paint, but it's not that serious. I got the U-bolts back on, and we're gonna get started on the brakes after I do the gasket on the pumpkin. So I already got the gasket. I'm gonna pop that out real quick. The fluid, there is no fluid in here, so once I get that back on, I'm gonna fill the diff with fluid, and then we'll move on to the brakes. Alrighty, so we got the brake lines all hooked up. The only thing I have to do is get this upper line hooked up. The hard line got stripped out on the frame, so I need to cut it and re-flare it, put a new connector on it. Maybe I'll give it a shot again now that it's been soaking in oil. But yeah, I bought the hard lines off the shelf. Got some metal zip ties I stole from work, and then some custom soft lines for the braking system. The other one over there I should have made a little bit longer, but it looks super great. I'm super happy with how it turned out. Yeah, I also got the diff filled up and the gasket back on. I also took the drive shafts to the drive shaft shop, and I got the rear one is done. Yeah, rear drive shaft can go in tonight, and then I can get the brakes in, and we can probably get this thing out of the garage. I got the boggers installed on the wheels. Gonna mount them up front here soon, get a look at them. Super excited, they look great. But what I also did is I got new tires for my BMW. These are on 17-inch wheels. So I bought some Super Duty takeoffs in a 17 and put my old BMW tires on them. And this should give me just enough room to just drive out under here. So yeah, these look so funny. They make me laugh every time. Yeah, let's get these mocked up front and see what they look like. I'm really excited. Man, these look good on here. Gosh, I can't get over it. The 37s definitely are like super filling. The 35s, the bald 35s I had were definitely not it. The 37s tied it together really nicely. You know, I made the truck taller, but what's that at this point? Now, in all honesty, I'm really not a fan of how freaking tall this thing is. I'm 6'4" for reference, and I'm starting to not be able to lean on the hood. I'm definitely not a huge lifted, super tall truck kind of guy. But I mean, this thing's cool. It's sick. All right, you got the brake line actually hooked up. Turned out great. I ended up not replacing the flared end because I was able to get it off of ice grips. And I just don't want to deal with cutting and putting a new end on it. So, got the drive shaft back from my buddy. Check it out here. Got one beefy old unit on the side of this thing. And yeah, it's fully splined now, so I have loads of travel. I think the spline goes up to here too, so I got plenty of descend and plenty of compression as well. Yeah, I got everything I need for this. We're gonna get this thing installed tonight, and then all we have to do left before we can drive this thing out of the garage for the first time, all we gotta do is bleed the brakes. Yeah, and then we just gotta figure out shocks, and that's it for the axle swap, and now we just gotta go to Moab and have a good old time. Alright, we got the brakes bled, and we also got the thing outside of the shop. Yeah, we put the little wheels on it. It looks so ridiculous right now. But it cleared the shop door, no problem. Honestly, I had a few inches to spare, but not a whole lot. Thing looks so silly right now. It looks so funny. But I'm gonna hit the boggers with the pressure washer because the inside of the wheels are pretty muddy. So we're gonna clean up the boggers, the wheels and the boggers, and then we're gonna get them on the truck and drive this thing in the gas station, get her some more fuel in her because she's really low. Yeah. Alrighty, so as per typical fashion of me, as soon as I get this thing drivable, I put the camera down and I never touch it again. So it's actually been like 3 weeks since I picked up the camera. I drove the thing around all that weekend and it was great. I had an amazing time with it, but then the water pump started leaking. We noticed the coolant leak before, last time we drove it out, but yeah, the water pump was pissing. So the weekend after that, I replaced the water pump, but then I found out it was actually the coolant channel behind the water pump and the timing chain cover. So I had to, the weekend after that, I had to pull everything apart again, pull the timing chain cover off, redo the gaskets on the timing chain cover, pull out a broken bolt, and now it's finally not leaking coolant anymore. So that's why I had to put the camera down. But now we're on a serious Moab crunch. There's like 4 days until we got to go to Moab, and I still got to do a bunch of things to this, and I got to get my truck going. Like, we got a big list right here. That list right there. Where's this list? This list is all the stuff we gotta do in 4 days. So, gonna make this video super quick, finish it up, and then crunch on the Moab. Yeah, got the front driveline back from the driveline shop. I can't remember if I covered this or not, but I had to buy a whole transfer case just to get this flange here. Ford has a 31 spline, it's the only way to do it. But my driveline shop had to upgrade these to 1350 so they can get the right tube. This was a spendy drive shaft. As you can see, the custom cross member my buddy made gave us plenty of clearance. Even when I flex and go down, that should give us just enough. It's gonna be awesome. I need to get my skid plate back in. But yeah, as far as the axle swap goes, all I got left to do is shocks. So last night, with the help of grabbing a shock off my truck grabbing a new shock from my truck, I bolted it onto here, got a center mark here. So I was able to mark here where the factory F350 shock mount was gonna go. And then I put it up as high as it can go before the bend hits, tacked it into place so I can go and take this to my girlfriend's work because she's got a forklift, and I'm gonna flex it with the forklift, get my 2 measurements I need, go pick up shocks today. For the rear, I did basically the same thing, hooked up the shock and the factory shock mount up front, tacked on the shock hangers. They're not the best. And yes, they sit a little crooked. I don't even know if you guys can see that. They sit a little crooked because the factory angle sits them a little crooked, but this is what it is. So, yeah, we're gonna pull this thing out, put the big boy tires back on it, and go drive to my girlfriend's work and get these measured. Alrighty, check that thing out. Looks so good on the 37s. Looks great. I'm so glad I bought these boggers. They're so cool. But yeah, now that I got a front drive line, I'm gonna test the 4-wheel drive a little bit by just driving up this little hill here. It's nothing crazy, but I try to climb up it just in 2-wheel drive, like too high, and it kind of struggled a little bit with my gear ratio. So I'm gonna put it in 4 low and see if it does any better, and I'm gonna let you guys watch me do it. Alrighty, that is the end of this one. Hit that subscribe button, plenty more coming. Follow me on Instagram if you actually want to stay updated. And until then, we'll see y'all next time. Thank y'all. Peace. Have a good night.